Welcome to Life Stories, where we share inspiring tales of resilience, courage, and the power of the human spirit. Today, we bring you the story of Jessica, a woman who faced betrayal, heartbreak, and a stolen family treasure only to rise stronger than ever. When her husband left her with nothing but a cruel text message, Jessica discovered his shocking deception and embarked on a journey to reclaim her life and honor her father's legacy. This is a story of justice, love, and self-discovery. Subscribe to Life Stories and join us as we dive into today's incredible journey. My name is Jessica, and at 33, I thought I had my life mostly together. Sure, it wasn't perfect. I juggled long days at work, and even longer nights caring for my ailing mother. But I managed. Life felt stable, if not fulfilling, and I took comfort in the small routines that made up my days. That was until the text message that changed everything. I was sitting in my mom's hospital room that evening, the faint beeping of machines blending with the hum of the fluorescent lights above. She was finally resting after another difficult day, her frail frame tucked under the thin hospital blanket. I'd just finished tidying up her room, making sure everything was in its place, when my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen and froze. The words stared back at me, colder with each syllable. I'm leaving you. I met someone. Her name is Vanessa, and she's everything you're not. We're moving to Miami. Good luck with your grumpy mother. For a moment, it felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. I reread the text over and over, each time hoping I'd misunderstood or that it was some cruel joke. But there it was. Ryan, my husband of 3 years, had ended our marriage in a single, dismissive message. No phone call, no conversation, just a text. I sat in stunned silence, the glow of the screen illuminating my face as I tried to process what this meant. Ryan and I weren't perfect, far from it. He'd never understood my devotion to caring for my mom, often complaining that it took time away from us. It's not like she's your responsibility, he'd say with an exaggerated roll of his eyes every time I cancelled a date or missed a dinner to help her. Those words stung even more now, echoing in my mind as I stared at his message. Looking back, I should have seen this coming. Ryan had always been selfish, putting his needs and wants above everyone else's. But I believed in him. I thought I could help him grow, that our love would be enough to soften his sharp edges. Clearly, I was wrong. As the reality of his words sank in, a heavy sadness settled over me. It wasn't just about the betrayal, it was about the timing, the sheer cruelty of it. I was here, sitting beside my mother, fighting to keep her comfortable in what could be her final days, while Ryan was off chasing some fantasy in Miami. The man I'd supported through every stumble, every failure, had discarded me when I needed him most. The beeping of my mom's heart monitor brought me back to the present. She needed me more than ever, and I couldn't let Ryan's betrayal pull me under. I slipped my phone into my bag and focused on her, brushing a stray strand of hair from her face. I'm here, Mom, I whispered. I'll always be here. When I finally left the hospital late that night, the weight of the day hit me like a freight train. The betrayal, the exhaustion, it was all too much. I walked into the house Ryan and I had shared, a space that now felt foreign and hollow, and dropped my bag onto the couch. I was too tired to cry, too drained to even be angry. As I made my way to the bedroom, something caught my eye. Sitting on the dresser was a diamond necklace, my dad's last gift to me before he passed away. It was one of my most treasured possessions, not just because of its beauty, but because of what it represented. My dad's love, his pride in me, and the connection we'd shared. I picked it up, turning it over in my hands. But something felt off. It looked the same at first glance, but it seemed lighter, almost fragile. I ran my fingers along the clasp and noticed faint scratches that hadn't been there before. My stomach twisted with unease, but I chalked it up to exhaustion and set it back down. An hour later, as I unpacked my bag, my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a message, it was a security alert. The tracking chip embedded in the clasp of my necklace, something my dad had insisted on when he gifted it to me, had been activated. The notification told me the real necklace had been moved from its designated location hours earlier. I stared at the screen in disbelief. The realization hit me like a thunderclap. The necklace sitting on my dresser wasn't the real one. Ryan hadn't just left me, he'd stolen my father's final gift to me. Anger bubbled to the surface. Sharp and unrelenting. He knew what that necklace meant to me. He knew it wasn't just jewelry, it was a piece of my dad. Something irreplaceable. And he'd taken it, trading its value for the selfish pursuit of his new life. Sitting on the couch, clutching the fake necklace in my hands, my mind raced. When had he taken it? How long had he been planning this? The thought of him sneaking into our bedroom, swapping the real necklace with a cheap forgery, made my stomach churn. But as the initial wave of anger passed, it was replaced by something steadier, determination. Ryan thought he could take everything from me and walk away unscathed. He thought he could build a new life without facing the consequences. He was wrong. This wasn't just about the necklace anymore. It was about standing up for myself. For everything that mattered to me. Ryan might have started this story, but I would be the one to finish it. The next morning, I woke up to sunlight streaming through the blinds. For a fleeting moment, I forgot everything: Ryan's betrayal, the missing necklace, and the chaos that had consumed my life overnight. But the moment didn't last. The memories came rushing back like a flood. And with them, a sharp ache in my chest. I wasn't the type to wallow, though. I had too much at stake: my mom's well-being, my own sense of dignity, and now, a burning need for justice. My father had always taught me to be strong, to stand up for what mattered. And his words echoed in my mind as I sat down at the kitchen table with my laptop. It was time to act. I opened the tracking app connected to the necklace's chip. My fingers trembling slightly. The blinking dot on the map showed its current location: a pawn shop. Just 3 miles away. I stared at the screen, torn between shock and fury. Ryan hadn't even tried to hide what he'd done. He'd pawned it, as if it were some meaningless trinket, and gone on his way without a second thought. I took a deep breath and picked up the phone, forcing my voice to remain steady. "Hi," I said when the shop owner answered. "I'm calling about a diamond necklace that may have been brought into your shop recently. It has a security chip embedded, and I received an alert about its location." There was a pause on the other end before the man replied, his voice hesitant. Yeah. We did have a necklace like that come in this morning. A guy sold it, tall, dark hair, seemed a little jittery." "Ryan." I clenched my jaw, trying to keep my composure. "Do you still have it?" "Not anymore," he said. "It flagged as stolen. So we reported it to the authorities. They've already taken it into their custody." I hung up, my mind spinning. Ryan hadn't just betrayed me, he'd left behind a trail of evidence as obvious as a flashing neon sign. For someone so self-centered, he wasn't very smart. And that was something I could use to my advantage. Later that day, I called the local police station and explained the situation. They listened carefully as I described the theft, the tracking chip, and the pawnshop's report. Within minutes, I was transferred to an investigator who specialized in cases like this. Her name was Detective Chambers, and from the moment she introduced herself, I felt a glimmer of hope. "You've done the right thing by reaching out," she said, her tone firm but reassuring. "High-value items like this don't just disappear. We'll work to track it down and ensure the responsible party is held accountable." As I provided her with details about Ryan, his sudden departure, the text message, and his mistress, my anger simmered beneath the surface. But I channeled it into determination. If Ryan thought he could escape to Miami with Vanessa and live happily ever after, he was sorely mistaken. The more I spoke with Detective Chambers, the more the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. Ryan's behavior over the past few months suddenly made sense: the secretive phone calls, the late nights out, the dismissive attitude toward our shared responsibilities. He'd been planning this for a long time, carefully laying the groundwork for his escape. When the call ended, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. This wasn't just about getting the necklace back. It was about confronting the man who had underestimated me, who had taken my love and loyalty for granted, and who thought he could walk away without consequences. That evening, I did something I hadn't done in years. I poured myself a glass of wine and sat down with my father's old journals. He'd been an avid writer, filling page after page with reflections on life, love, and the importance of integrity. As I flipped through the worn pages, I found an entry that struck a chord. Strength isn't just about standing tall during the good times. It's about staying rooted when the storm comes, knowing you'll weather it and come out stronger on the other side. I closed the journal and smiled softly, the words sinking deep into my heart. My father's necklace wasn't just a piece of jewelry, it was a symbol of everything he'd taught me. And I wasn't going to let Ryan take that away, not without a fight. That night, I went to bed with a clear plan. Ryan had underestimated me, but he'd made one critical mistake: he left a trail. And I was going to follow it. All the way to Miami if I had to. This wasn't the end of the story, it was only the beginning. The next morning, I woke up with a renewed sense of purpose. Ryan had turned my world upside down. But if he thought I was going to crumble under the weight of his betrayal, he didn't know me at all. I wasn't just going to get my father's necklace back, I was going to make sure Ryan paid for every bit of the damage he'd done. After a quick breakfast, I pulled out my laptop and started gathering every piece of evidence I could find. I went through our shared bank statements, combing through each transaction for anything suspicious. Sure enough, I found multiple withdrawals and transfers over the past few months, large sums of money being funneled into an offshore account. It was clear Ryan had been planning his escape long before his abrupt text message. Next, I turned to his social media. Ryan had always been a bit of a show-off, and it didn't take long to confirm that he hadn't gone into hiding. His latest post, uploaded just hours earlier, showed him lounging on a pristine white sand beach, a cocktail in hand. Beside him was Vanessa, grinning like she'd just won the lottery. The caption read, "Living the dream. Miami paradise. New beginnings." I stared at the photo, a mix of anger and disbelief washing over me. He looked so smug, so confident that he'd gotten away with everything. But the more I stared, the more I realized something else. Ryan wasn't just careless. He was arrogant. And that arrogance would be his downfall. I sent screenshots of the post to Detective Chambers, along with everything else I'd uncovered. By the time she called me back, she sounded impressed. "You've done a lot of the legwork for us, Jessica," she said. "This gives us a strong starting point." "What happens now?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "We'll request a freeze on the offshore account and work with local authorities in Miami to track him down," she explained. "Cases like this can take time. But with the evidence you've provided, we're in a strong position." After hanging up, I felt a flicker of hope. For the first time since Ryan's betrayal, it felt like I wasn't alone in this fight. I had allies, people who believed in justice and were willing to help me reclaim what was mine. But as the hours passed, I couldn't shake the image of Ryan and Vanessa on that beach. The thought of him sipping cocktails and basking in his newfound freedom while I struggled to pick up the pieces of my life made my blood boil. He had stolen more than just a necklace, he had stolen my trust, my sense of security, and a part of my identity. And yet, he thought he could get away with it. That evening, I went for a long walk to clear my head. As I strolled through the quiet streets of my neighborhood, I thought about everything that had brought me to this point. My dad's passing, my mom's illness, the years I'd spent putting everyone else's needs before my own. It was exhausting, but it was also a reminder of my strength. I had faced so many challenges before this, and I had survived every single one. Ryan might have shaken my world, But he couldn't destroy me. By the time I returned home, I felt calmer, more centered. I sat down at my desk and opened a blank notebook, determined to channel my emotions into something productive. I wrote down everything I wanted to say to Ryan, not for him, but for me. Each word was a release, a way of reclaiming my power. When I was done, I closed the notebook and set it aside. Ryan might have thought he'd left me broken, but he had no idea what I was capable of. I wasn't just fighting for a necklace or for justice, I was fighting for myself. And I was just getting started. In the end, justice prevailed. Ryan was held accountable for his betrayal, and the necklace, a priceless piece of my father's legacy, was returned safely to me. But more importantly, I rediscovered my strength, resilience, and the value of standing up for myself. Life isn't always fair, and people like Ryan may try to tear us down. But we have the power to rise above. Now, I focus on rebuilding, cherishing every moment with my mom, and embracing the brighter days ahead. This chapter of my life taught me profound lessons about love, loss, and self-worth, lessons I'll carry with me forever. Thank you for watching this journey unfold. If you found this story inspiring, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Life Stories for more incredible tales of resilience and triumph. See you in the next video.